Good morning, everyone. Hi, it is Stacy. This is Loving My Veteran. We are walking in my shoes this morning. Today is actually part four. It's mislabeled on here. Part four of our series. Why does it always have to be about the veteran? What about me? We spend a lot of time talking about the veteran, the veteran, the veteran, the veteran, the veteran. What about us? When do we matter? Our feelings are real, and people tend to forget that so often. So we're going to talk about that. And this is, how we get hurt so often. And how do we deal with our hurt? And we're going to talk about that today. So grab your coffee. We're going to get started. This kind of takes me back and makes me have to go back and think sometimes through the old memory lane thing. I remember feeling inadequate. I remember feeling dumb. I remember feeling stupid. I remember feeling like I was the one doing everything. I was cooking, and I was cleaning, and I was handling the shit that needed to be handled that he didn't do or didn't have time to do, didn't process through, whatever it was. And I was doing every single thing, everything, or at least I felt like it at the time. Because remember, our perception is our reality. And what was I getting back in return? I was getting a lot of ugly words. I was getting shutting down, blown off, if you would speak. And it was very painful. One of the most painful pictures, that's probably the most real picture I've ever seen, and I will put it in the comments, is a picture of my very dear friend Michelle. And it is a picture of her crying when she was at her wit's end and she said, "I just can't do this." She had been through enough. Treatment, finding care, doing all those things over and over and over again. She did it. And at the end of the day, the pain just kept coming back. Because she'd have a good moment or a good day or a good whatever, and then the behavior would flip right back to where it was. And I remember that picture. And she was thousands of miles away. And I just wanted to reach through the phone and grab her. But the picture wasn't just about Michelle. The picture represented me. Probably as a result, so many other spouses, family, loved ones. That moment of her rawness represents so much of what we feel at times. People say, well, I feel hurt. And we're talking about it with people, and I'm like, I'm hurt, I'm inadequate, I'm this, I'm that. They don't realize the depth of what those mean to us and how it really eats at us. And that it's not just, hey, suck it up and move on. Because we do it so well. We hide it so well until we can't hide it anymore. And we forget that we matter. We try to tell the world we do. We try to convince our veteran that, hey, what about us? We really do matter. And I see things over and over and over again. And it comes down from, just read what people write in their desperation. I'm doing it all. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Kathy. I'm doing it all. I'm keeping the home fires burning. I'm the one who's dealing with this. I'm the one who's handling this. I'm the one who's afraid to say something when they walk in the house. I'm the one who is taking care of getting the grass cut. Or I'm the one who's doing the laundry. Or I'm the one who's doing the dishes. Or I'm the one who's cooking. Or I'm the one who's doing. And that is our world. Morning, Rocky. That is our world. It's our reality. But what we don't realize is that when we do so much of this, because we're meant to feel inadequate, right? That's how we feel. When we take away people's ability to do what they can do for themselves or for others, we add to the inadequacy. I didn't really understand that. I didn't understand that sometimes. When we take away their ability to do what they can do, we add to the inadequacy, and as a result, it gets turned around, and we are made to feel more inadequate. We don't realize that. Now, I want you to sit back for a minute, and I want you to think, because it's not diminishing our feelings at all. You have to understand where it all comes from, and then it'll all kind of fall into place and make sense. I want you to think back, and I don't mean this male or female side. I'm not trying to say it's a male thing or a female thing. I just typically, when I talk about it, just because it's the role that Carl and I play, he's the veteran, so I usually say him. But here you have these macho-y type soldiers, right? They're physically fit. They do things most of us would never dream of doing. Because if you think I'm going to climb some wall in the rain or in the mud or crawl through the mud, you've lost your marbles. They're at the top of their game. They're competitive. They share in that moment with people who are very much like them. It's kind of like watching a football team, right? That whoever makes the touchdown, they all kind of share in that moment. They've all worked really hard. So there's not this inadequate playing field. They're all kind of level and macho. Now something happens. Now they come home with an injury, whether it's a mental injury, a physical injury, whatever it may be. And they're feeling like they just can't do it. So these feelings of inadequacy start to show. And it manifests itself, and unfortunately, we become the brunt of that manifestation. We become the brunt of that. They may be super competitive at work, or be able to go to work, or go in public, and you act like there's nothing wrong, and they're bragging, and they're talking about all the good they do. And they can't have a conversation with you over breakfast. And they get out there, and they can be in the real world sometimes, not all the time. And how many of us have said, well, I don't understand it. They can be this one person to one group of people, but when they get home, they're not that way at all. Has to do with inadequacies. They put a facade on, so do we. We act like nothing's wrong, and it is. So do they. So when they're feeling inadequate, they turn things around. Because they don't want to say, hey, look, I can't do this. They don't want to be the ones who say, I can't do this, mentally or physically do this anymore. So rather than own the fact, hey, it's beyond what I can do, it becomes about us. Well, you're the reason. Truth is, you're not the reason. And they're probably not the reason either. It was a life event that's the reason. And that doesn't help us, because they've turned it around and now it's all about us and it's all our fault. Because they're losing some of their self-esteem. They get anxiety going out in public. Right? And rather than be honest and say, I have a hard time going out in public, it's, you took me somewhere you didn't say we were going. You've made plans that I just can't handle. Why would you do this about it? They may have planned the whole birthday party with you. Well, that's not what we discussed. Because now all of a sudden they're feeling inadequate. They're feeling afraid that they just can't handle it. And they don't know how to address that feeling. So who does it come about? It becomes about us. And what happens to us? Our self-esteem goes down. Our feeling of inadequacy manifests. And we don't feel like we're enough. Because if we were enough, they would love us like the fairy tales say. If we were enough, they'd love us like the country love songs say, right? I mean, that's the truth. That's how we feel. Get a lot of women, and it happens, I hear it all the time. They'd say, I've caught my veteran talking to high school friends, especially women. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, I didn't say okay in the beginning. Okay. He just woke up. He could be like, you did not say that in the beginning. I was jealous. I was jealous. I was pissed off. I was angry. I felt like he was cheating. I felt like I damn sure wasn't enough. Now, there's not really a good way to cheat when they're in New Jersey and we're in Georgia. I mean, unless you are some miracle worker, that isn't how it's happening. The thing is that you can't have this conversation, men-to-men conversation, right? Because if you start having that little feeling inadequate, you don't want the men to know that. You don't want your buddies to know that. But you can have it with some woman who doesn't matter, by the way, like just some friend. You can have it with them. Because then you can talk about your successes. And most of the time, especially if they're talking to people they used to know, they remember the good in them. They remember them before the injuries. Right? And they spend a lot of time talking about that. It's a validation form and a way for them to feel, hey, nobody's judging me. And we get all flipped out. I did. I got way flipped out. Especially when he was in shutdown mode and wouldn't talk to me and was sitting in the garage and I walk out there to say something and it's almost like he's hiding the phone, which he really wasn't. He didn't want to hurt me. Or I was interrupting his space, not quite sure which. Sometimes both. Sometimes he was just getting it out to somebody who got him, who knew the old him. Or somebody who didn't know him with the flaws he has because he didn't share those. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. And I said some really ugly things. Some horribly ugly things when all that came out. I understand it now, and I actually talked to this person now, so it's not like I had anything to be uptight about. But I didn't realize that at the time. So here I felt like, well, I'm the one cooking, I'm the one cleaning, I'm the one doing the dishes, I'm the one making sure the shit's done, I'm the one who's dealing with your ass when you're in a mood, I'm the one who's supposed to shut up when you tell me to and talk when you miraculously think it's okay, but you're not telling me it's okay, so I really don't know how to read your mind. Is it okay to talk? Is it not okay to talk? I'm the one who's supposed to go to town, and if I ask you to go to town and you really don't want to, you feel obligated, so you go and then you're a jerk the whole time we're in town. Or if I go to town without you, then you feel offended because I didn't ask you to go. I'm supposed to be the one doing this, and you're dumping all this shit on me. Yeah, you can talk to some chick. I was livid. I was livid. But he didn't have to measure up for her. He didn't have to be that person. And if you think for 1 minute that your veteran doesn't know that they are hurting you, you're wrong. They don't know how not to. A lot of times the hurtful words the hurtful behaviors, the hurtful actions, the hurtful feelings is their frustration coming out because they feel like they're not adding up to what you need. And then we play right back into it, right? The things we bitch about. You never talk to me about anything. My veteran doesn't talk to me about anything. He doesn't help me make a decision. He doesn't talk to me about anything. Why? Because the last time you asked him to, you blew off his answer like it was dumb and like it was stupid, and you took that decision away. Or you walked on eggshells because you didn't want to trigger them because you were afraid that he couldn't handle the shit, so you just kept it from him anyway. So why bother? You demasculate them, and we don't mean to. Right? It's not like we mean to demasculate them. It's not like we mean to take those choices away. But we do it. And it's not intentional. I mean, I think you think about things that are simple. You know, most of our life, the problems in our life can be measured in really simple actions. He loves to cook. Loves it. And he's really good at it, by the way. But if we're cooking something, and he's cooking something, and it's not the way that I would cook it, I'd say something about it. And green beans are probably the easiest thing for us to talk about here because it's just simple. I'm a southern chick. My green beans get cooked with fatback seasoning and salt. That's how southern people cook their green beans. He sautés the damn things in garlic and butter. What the f did you do to them green beans? And when he would cook green beans and they would have garlic and butter, I'd be looking at him like, no. Not eating these things. And why it sounds like it's a big deal, like it's a small deal, it becomes a big deal because we stack all these things on top. So guess what? He's never cooked another green bean because he knows. Why bother? And then what happens to me? I get my little feelings hurt because I'm tired and I don't want to cook. Or I feel like it's my role to cook or my job to cook or it's what I'm supposed to do. And probably more so in the past 2 weeks than probably in the past year, he said, I'll cook dinner. And I'm usually like, no, I got it. I'm like, okay, have fun with that. And it's good. And guess what happens? He has value. And when he starts to gain a little value, right, I gain a lot more value. I'm not saying that it's all anybody's fault. I'm saying we have to understand the whys. The hurt is there. The hurt is real. We don't understand the hurt. We don't understand the pain. We don't understand the tears. We don't understand why can they just not be normal? Why can I just not matter? Or just matter? Not matter, because we all kind of feel at times like we don't matter. When do I come first? How many of us have felt that way? When do I come first? Most of us have felt that way. Most of us. But if you're the person who tries over and over and over again to do something, and you're always told you're doing it wrong, do you bother doing it? No. That's why we don't continue to have conversations. Because we try to have a conversation, and then we're told we're dumb, or we feel like we're told we're dumb, or we're told that this is stupid, or they shut down, or they ignore us, And so this cycle that goes on never stops. This cycle that goes on never stops. It never goes away because we're both, all of us, are stuck in this mindset and we're not thinking or looking at the other side because we've never been told to. Because we've never been taught to. Because we've never been in that position. I have a lot of people who say, y'all, my veteran is like doing stuff that is dumb. He's like buying all kinds of stuff and whatever. A lot of times they buy stuff to make them feel better. It's no different than when a woman will go out and get their nails done. I'm here to tell you, I didn't realize this. I could go to the darn store and buy nail polish for like $5 a bottle. And think how many times I could paint my own nails for $5 a bottle. I am not painting my own nails for $5 a bottle. I'm going to the nail place to get them done. Sometimes they buy stuff and they do stuff because it makes them feel better. We don't see it that way. We see it as, oh, it's all about them. When we go get our nails done, what happens? Oh, it's all about you. Have we not heard that? When we go in and say, this is how I feel. And you do when you're having a conversation, you need to own your feelings. And I agree with that. I mean, that's what we believe in. That's what we know works. But when you go in with it too often and in the wrong approach and you say, this is how I feel, and that starts off the conversation because you haven't learned good communication skills, because communicating with a veteran is very different. When you haven't learned good communication skills and you come across with, this is how I feel, and you point out all the inadequacies, the very first thing they say is, here you go, turning it all around, it's all about you. And then we just want to beat our heads in the wall. We've heard that veterans in the military are a unique breed. We've heard that they're different. They do things that most of us, or have done things that most of us would never do. They come home with injuries that are, some are visible, some aren't. And they're very unique. They're unique in the way they communicate. They're unique in the way they feel. They're a unique group of people. So are we. And when we don't learn to own and accept that we are unique and we are stronger and we do things that most women don't, again, not about one sex or the other. When we do things that most women would never do, it would be easy to run. It would be easy to walk away. But we don't. We stay. We fight. We go through the tears. We have the crying. We do all of that. And Kathy, the conversations are hard. And I have to do a series on it. I've done a class or two on it. I'll have to put that out there because it's not something I can answer in 5 or 10 minutes. First thing in conversation is this. I don't care. The verbiage doesn't have to be perfect. Just stop walking on the damn eggshells. And don't ever bring up more than 2 things at a time. It becomes overwhelming. We say that about our veteran, but it becomes that way for us too. When we start thinking about all the things we have to do, all the stuff that we feel like we have to do, all the stuff that we feel like we've been tasked to do, it's overwhelming to us too. You know, it's hard enough In the normal world, I love that word, normal world. It's hard enough in the normal world to get your kids up and get ready for school and do the stuff that's got to be done and do the stuff around the house and do this and do that. That's hard enough. It's even harder when you try to do that when you're living with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When you don't know from one minute to the next if your action's going to be right, or if you're going to get a strange response, or if you're going to be meant to feel like crap. That's really hard. So when I talk about us being a unique breed, and a lot of veteran spouses and loved ones and partners think they are so weak. You're not weak. You are incredibly strong. You try to read between the lines, and you got to learn to read between the lines. You read between the lines. You stand beside them. You support them. And there's days that you got to stand toe to toe with them. But then you got to figure out when all that comes into play. The thing we have to remember, it is about us. We do matter. And it is okay to get caught up in your feelings, just don't live there. It is okay to be caught up in your feelings, don't live there. And it's acceptable. And we've been told by society, don't cry, suck it up. What is that, the Miranda Lambert song? Put on your makeup and start acting like a lady. Because God forbid you get the Baptist people all talking about you. It's the world we live in. On top of that, you add a combat veteran to the mix? Come on. Where do you think we're at mentally? And then you take a combat veteran. They're supposed to be big and tough and strong and all these things. And then they come back with injuries and stuff they don't understand. They don't know how to process. They can't figure it all out. We have inadequacies. They have inadequacies. And nobody wants to accept them and realize that they're not flaws. They're just things. And we don't know how to work together to get through them. And we don't know how to accept people exactly where they are. I watch the frustrations, and I watch especially newer people who come to this group who are thirsting for information and thirsting for knowledge. And part of it is that the knowledge and the information is there. And when you do this stuff, it does help. And you can build great relationships. But you're thirsting for this knowledge, and you're trying to get to somewhere that you're not ready to get to yet because you don't know how to navigate it, and you haven't done it and let your veteran and you do it together, because you do work it together. Whether they think they're being a participant or not, they are. If you're living together or talking to each other, you are doing it together. As the changes start to happen, you don't have to say, this is what you got to do, but you are changing them together. But the thing is that you got to love them where they are. You can't be to here, right? And love them up here. You got to love them where they are. Jen, that is the most honest statement. Our veterans are not mind readers. And if you're already one of these people who feel inadequate, because we don't mind pointing out their flaws, by the way. We are really good at pointing out their flaws. If you don't ask them to do something, how do they know it needs to be done? Because you might ask them to do it now, or you might want them to do it today. But God forbid if they did it yesterday, you were going to nut up. And I can remember when like I first got sick and I had a harder time moving around. And Carl would get up and he'd get me everything, like my drink and get me this and get me that. He'd even bring my medicine to me. Here, you got to take this. And he did it out of love, and I know he did it out of love. But there were times that he did it was so overwhelming to me that I felt like I couldn't do anything, and so it took away part of my ability to do things. And I mentioned it, and we've talked about it. Now he doesn't do that, and then there's days now that I'll struggle and be like, "What the hell? Why is he not doing this?" And not one. And I think about it. I mean, I sit back and think about it. I'm like, because you didn't ask, idiot. You didn't ask. You got mad at him 3 years ago. We worked through that. And now when you need something, you don't ask. And what's he supposed to read your mind? Because the first time he does it without me asking, I'm going to say, I told you I can do this. And I could get myself very much caught up in my own feelings. It is about us too. It's not all about that veteran. It's about us too. But more importantly, it's about us and our relationship. It's not about me. It's not about him. We each have our own work to do. It's got to be about us. I'm so proud, Jen. It's got to be about us. And what's best for us. So are you going to go in that room and cry? Yep. I don't cry as much as I used to 4 years ago, but I still cry. It isn't my obsession every day. I'm not crying every day. But I still cry. Is there days he still gets incredibly frustrated with me? Yep. Does he still say things that hurt my feelings at times? Yep. Not like he used to. But guess what? When I cry and I feel inadequate, I usually now can come back and talk to him. And when he says things that hurt my feelings, after a little bit, he usually comes back and says, wait a minute, it came out wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I don't know about the rest of you, but that's a huge accomplishment for us. We don't live a perfect life. We live a great life, but not a perfect life. So this is part 4. Tomorrow is Friday, and I used to do Fabulous Fridays, and we're going to do that with the rest of this series on Friday about our fabulousness. Empowering us to feel good about us, because we need to feel good about us. We need to feel good about us. You feel good about yourself, you're going to feel so much better about your relationship. You're going to feel so much better about your relationship. I'm going to get off of here. I've got things I need to get done this morning. But I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes. We are loving my veteran. I love mine today, every day, and always. Y'all have a blessed one. Bye.